3 guys or one person that's currently in here right now. Hopefully we'll have some other people in a few minutes. Um, I did just so I can bullshit a little bit here. Actually, I'm going to move my little fireplace heater closer to me because I'm kind of a little chilly now. Oh, all of a sudden we had 4. I look away. Well, now we're back down to 2. I don't know. Maybe it's people just either trying to get in here and having some issues, or it's these like I call them drive by people that are just looking for something to watch. And I get it. If it doesn't look interesting to them, then they're gonna bypass it and go to something else, which is cool. Um, and the movie that we're gonna be watching is not a very long one either. Um, but I did want to say that I'm a day late and $1 short as usual. I meant to fix my Friday the 13th jelly filled donuts yesterday on Friday the 13th, and was so busy that I worked, and then of course Fridays is our grocery days. We got groceries, and I did a stream for Friday the 13th last night as well. So by the time I got all that stuff, I was just wiped out. So I started in on these this evening, and I've got them all made out. They are actually hockey mask shaped, rather. Um, Soon to be donuts. They're doing their second bunch of rising right now. You have to let them rise in the bowl and let it double in size. People that have worked with yeast know how that works. And then I made them out. I rolled out the dough and used my brand new that I got yesterday hockey mask cookie cutter, actually, but I used it to make out the donuts, so they would be in the hockey mask shape. And so I wonder. Hold on, just 1 second. We'll see if we can. I'll bring up Facebook here. For anybody that's in here is interested in how they look as they're rising. Some people have already liked and or loved my picture, so I'm going to share my screen in case any of you are interested that are in here, all 2 of you right now. Okay. So I hope you guys can see those there, those of you that are in here currently right now. For those of you that watch this later, of course, you'll be able to see that on the screen as well. But that's what they look like before I covered them with the towel to let them rise a little bit more. They talked about letting the dough initially rise for 2 to 3 hours. And I was like, yeah, it was about ready to come out of the bowl. It looked like that, whatever that concoction was on the stuff. It looked like it was about to come out of the bowl and start crawling around. So I thought, hey, I'm going to just go ahead and that must have been some good yeast I used. I'll go ahead and make these out and then let them rise a little bit more. But they look pretty good there, and they were actually starting to rise a little bit more when I put them on the pan. So you may hear my my timer go off, rather, on my stove, because I had a 30-minute timer set. But never fear, these can wait to fry until I'm done with the Watchalong, and then I will start frying my donuts in oil. And then after they cool, I will be decorating them with royal icing. Those of you that do a lot of baking, if there's, I mean, guys like to bake. Some guys like to bake too. So I don't want to leave you guys out that like to bake. So you guys and gals that like to bake, you probably know what royal icing is. It's a kind of like a little bit stiffer consistency of icing than a normal, like a creamy icing. And you kind of have to work with royal icing kind of fast because it sets up and will get where you can't, spread it on anything, or, it'll even get too stiff to use, like if you using a cake decorator or something like that, to the icing will get where it literally will not push through. And trust me on this, it will set up quickly. I have used royal icing on more than one occasion to frost cookies. And of course, I'm going to do that with these donuts as well. And these donuts I tried to get raspberry jelly because that was what was recommended for these donuts, and I could not get raspberry jelly. So I got strawberry jelly. I don't like, jams and stuff like that that have seeds in it. I don't know about anybody else. And so that's why I kind of stuck with the jelly. Um, and I ended up getting strawberry because it's red. Hey, maybe it'll look like blood. And that's what I'm actually going to be putting inside the donuts um, after they're fried. So, little cooking lesson there for you guys, and hopefully I'll be able to put a picture of what they look like after they're cooked and they've got the icing on them and all of that good stuff. So, anyway, I'm going to stop sharing that now. Uh, and I lost somebody. So I must be either, it's like I said, people are, and once again, I ate pizza earlier, and I think something got on my tooth or my gum there. Probably some kind of pizza spice. Sorry about that. Um, so anyway, I did want to remind everybody, or anybody that listens to this later or watches this later rather, that I will be doing the first edition of There's Something About Tarantino this Tuesday. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing anything Monday because, to tell you the honest truth, guys, I know a lot of you, well, maybe not a lot, but several people get off for Martin Luther King Day. And when I was working for the library system, I got off on that day. And of course, I didn't stay with Stockyards long enough for there to be a Martin Luther King Day that I would have to determine whether I was off or not. But Smile Doctors, the orthodontist that I work for, or the IT department that I work for, that evidently Martin Luther King is their biggest production day of the year. So needless to say, they're not going to give us off that day. So before I knew that, or I had forgotten about that, it was probably told to me in passing, and I just forgot. I had asked off, and my supervisor never okayed it, and I was like, okay. And so Friday, he had to have a medical procedure done. So I thought, hey, technically, he's supposed to be off. I'm not going to bother him with it. So what I did was I talked to his boss, who's the director of IT operations. And she's really nice and stuff. And I explained to her that normally I would ask my supervisor, but because he was having that procedure done, I really didn't want to bother him with it. And I explained to her the situation, that I had neglected to remember that was a busy time. And so if they needed me to work, that was perfectly fine. And she said, well, if you could work, that would be great. But they were willing to, and I didn't even ask for this. I was going to work the whole day. She said they were willing to be flexible and allow me off half a day. And I must be boring the hell out of people because I just lost another person. So they offered to let me work half a day. So I'll work the morning when things will probably be the craziest and stuff like that. But anyway, that explains why I probably won't do anything on Monday. Because I'm probably going to be wiped out because it's probably going to be one of those crazy times where x-ray machines go down and everything that can go wrong will go wrong because these guys are going to be busy. And that makes us be busy. So, yeah, I'm pretty gonna be pretty wiped out, even though I'm getting half a day off that day. So what else I got going on? Of course, Tuesday's the Tarantino thing. I don't know about Wednesday what I will be doing. Um, Thursday, of course, will be another my dinner with De Palma, so you guys can look forward to that. Friday, I'll probably go back to taking off on Fridays. I did something this Friday because, of course, it was Friday the 13th, and I wanted to do something special. And Saturday, I will be doing another watch along. This is going to be a surprise, guys, because I've forgotten what I picked. I'm going to have to double check my list and get some promotion out for that. Um, so I think that's all the announcements I got to make about stuff. Um, so I don't know, it doesn't look like there's really going to be many people, if at any at all. If I lose this one person, I'm not going to have anybody. Um, I really thought people would be excited about Slumber Party Massacre. I don't know why, but I thought that that would be a fun one. But maybe people are busy or they're tired or they got heck, I don't know, maybe Deadpit's doing something else. And Steve didn't have very many at his either. I think he said about 3 or so. So um, I'm probably going to go ahead and get started in about a minute or so here. This movie's only an hour and 14 minutes long. If you do come in later, and want to come in on live on the stream with me, then feel free to say, "Hey, Dana, I'm going to go backstage," because I do have the link in the chat in case you want to do that. I also have the link to the movie, The Slumber Party Massacre, in the chat as well. So, or see, now I have nobody here. Okay. So, well, now I got one again. But anyway, I am going to go ahead and get started here in just a second. Maybe another 30 seconds or a minute. I am going to go ahead and do it, because people might watch this later. Sometimes there aren't a lot of people in the stream, but people watch them later. For instance, the second part of my first season episode breakdown for the Twilight Zone from the 80s, there was hardly anybody in there. But now it's got over 100 views on it. So, somebody was watching it later, and that is cool. I do feel a little weird sometimes when there's like nobody interacting in the chat, or there's not several people in here. I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself, which essentially I guess I am. But I'll do the best I can. But if some of you guys come in later and, like I said, decide you want to be live on the stream with me, as long as it's not like 30 seconds till the movie's over, I would love to have you on at any point in time. So just let me know, or just, click on the link and you'll go backstage, and I'll be checking the chat and things like that periodically. So with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the countdown and get started with Slumber Party Massacre. So 3, 2, 1, press play. And I do apologize if you are using this link, that there may be some subtitles there. I don't know if this is going to freaking stay on there or not. No, it went away. This may go off of there. That may just be the people that are doing the encoding for the movie. This is not a really good transfer of this. And you guys might be thinking, well, gee, Dana, I didn't know there was a good transfer of this. Well, there is a there is a Blu-ray out that does look better than this, guys. It honestly does. This looks like it maybe was either ripped from a VHS or a DVD, maybe. Now, this may have subtitles on it. So if you guys can, of course, if you're watching your own copy of it, you don't have to worry about these dang subtitles. And for those of you that like a little nudity in your movies, and your horror movies in particular, you're going to get to see some in this. And believe it or not, this movie was directed by a woman. And I believe it was also written by a woman as well. So you're going to get to see your first bit of nudity here. I don't think this is edited. We'll know in a second. Nope. Okay. And that actress is Michelle Michaels, whose one breast, we will get to see a little bit later, because the actress who was supposed to be in the scene being felt up by her boyfriend didn't want to do any nudity, so Michelle Michaels stepped in, and one of her boobs was a stunt boob. So I guess she thinks, because she's 18 years old, that she needs to give up all her toys and stuff. But as you'll see, she can't give up the little stuffed dog, and she puts it back. Barbie's going. Some of these other things are going. They're going to go out to the trash, but the doggy gets to stay. Wow, I have 0 people in here now. Boy, her dad is sure in a hell of a hurry. So there was like a goof up on IMDb. Seeing the neighbor back there made me remember this, that that actor goes by Ryan Kennedy, and also goes by Rig Kennedy. And neither one of those names are similar to Jamie Kennedy, who well, maybe it wasn't Jamie Kennedy. They had him confused, which I knew that wasn't right, because that guy's obviously looks around, I don't know, 35 or 40 maybe. And somebody had said that he was in the Scream movie. And I think they said he was one of the pranksters who put the ghost face mask and costume on in the school and scared the crap out of Sydney. And they get in trouble with Principal Hembry or whatever. That guy's name was. Now, these two guys here, David Milburn and Jeff, oh gosh, or maybe it's Joe. I don't know. Jeff might be the name on here. But anyway, those two guys are gay, which I find amusing, only because, not because they're gay, but because they're constantly trying to get women in this movie. And you're going to see those two guys standing with, and we're going to see our first kill here. Oops, getting the telephone repair woman. And this is going to be the driller killer's first kill of the movie. And as we know, if we were listening to the radio broadcast that everybody keeps switching off, and they really should be listening to, but of course we wouldn't have any movie, would we, if they had listened to that? Oh, excuse me. But we know that that killer is Russ Thorne. Now here, unfortunately, the girl in the yellow shorts there that's trying to guard Diane there. That girl, unfortunately, committed suicide in her 30s, I believe. And it's really sad. Sorry, guys. Something's making me sneeze. Now, that guy in the purple shirt that was standing there with the two other guys is, I believe that they said that he had transitioned into a woman. Either he transitioned into a woman or he just dresses in drag. I wasn't quite sure. Now, I must say, and I've said this before about this movie, these are the worst girl basketball players I've ever seen. And there's supposed to be a girls' basketball team. The girl playing Valerie is probably the best of the bunch with this. I have a hard time believing that these girls will be a girls' basketball team. I really do. So now we're going to get to see more of the traditional nudity. And this gal right here, you guys will probably know as Brink Stevens. One of the forerunners as far as scream queens. And I agree, Brink Stevens is a very, very attractive woman. Good figure and all that. Most of these girls in this scene have a good figure. I'm not, of course, I'm a straight female, so this doesn't do anything for me, but I must say that Brink Stevens is a lovely looking woman. I mean, she's very, very attractive. I'm not going to lie about that. Guys, I'm going to turn off my timer and I will be right back for anybody that's watching this. Feel free to keep watching the movie. So Diane is the one, the one that's telling this bad joke here. She is the one who, well, later on, it's supposed to be her breast that we see, and instead it's Michelle Michaels who is on the right there. Hey, Blissful, how are you? Now we got 3 in here. I thought I wasn't going to have anybody tonight. So I'm glad you're in here. Does anybody ever remember shirts that had Space Baby on them, like in the early 80s? Was that a thing? I would be too young to remember that. So Diane doesn't want Valerie to come to the party tonight, the slumber party. And why? Because Diane's a bitchy snob. That's why. And of course, Valerie heard them all talking, and of course, Trish tries to smooth things over, but it doesn't quite work. So here's Jeff and Neil trying to, get these girls to pay attention to them, and they want to come to the slumber party, of course. And Brink Stevens has forgotten. Oh, there's the phone repair lady there in the dumpster. Nobody sees her. But Brink Stevens has forgotten her book. She's got a test on Monday and she's got to pass it. So she's going to go back in the school. Russ Thorne is creeping out there. He's looking at her. And of course, Coach Jana tells her that they'll be locking the building up soon. And, I think if somebody told me that, I'd probably just say, well, screw it, I'll risk it. But evidently, Brink Stevens does not want to do that. Or Linda, as that's her character name. Bliss, what you say? I don't remember that, but they had some cool T-shirts. Yeah, I mean it's a cool shirt. I just I don't really remember if they had those back then or not because I would be too young, or I would have been too young at that point in time. So now she can't get out of the school, and it's obvious, girly, that you're not going to get out of there with those big chains and locks on the doors. But I don't know. She wasn't in there that long. Like she wasn't in the locker room or the area where the lockers were that long. So I don't know, like how many janitors did they have? Like, did they have like 25 janitors that was running around all over this big school? Something funny about this scene too is right. I don't know if it's an error with the soundtrack or what, but right before he attacks her, you can hear Brink Stevens scream like a half a second before or 30 seconds before it actually happens if you listen closely. And of course I've seen this movie way too many times, and of course I would notice things like that. Steve would definitely say I've seen it too many times. Bliss, will you say, yeah, I was a teenager in the 80s. It was a fun decade. Yeah, I think I missed out on a lot of that because I was born in 76. Um, and but Steve, my husband, he pretty much grew up in the 80s. Um, I was a kid in the 80s. I wasn't like a teenager in a lot of the 80s, so especially the early 80s. So I was 10 in 86. So, that was middle 80s. So I wouldn't have been 13 until 89. So, and some of you guys probably were, in upper teens by that point in time. It doesn't look like Dead Pit's doing anything. I just thought maybe, or not doing anything right now. I didn't know if like there was something going on that I didn't know about, or maybe people just weren't interested in Slumber Party Massacre. So you graduated in '89. Um, let's see, my husband in 89, he would have been, well, he was probably 19 in 89. So he graduated just a little bit before you did, Blissful. I love this too, where he's drilling in there right beside the door. It has emergency drill procedure, and I love that. I love those little things, and that shows you again that I've watched this movie way too many times that I could pick up on all those things. So this is a very short movie, guys. So we got less than an hour left of this. I almost did another Friday the 13th movie for tonight, which might have been a better choice. So we're about to see the appearance of one of these dumb jock boyfriends. It's like Diane's a pretty attractive girl, right? So why is she with this dumbass? I'm not saying the guy's like ugly, really. He's just a doofus. Maybe that's what chicks went for back then. Is that what they went for back then? Blissful? Did they they go for these dumb jocks? Blissful, you say I'm a day behind. I thought it was Friday all day. LOL. Well, like I told old Curly Jaws last night, I said, hell, I'm just gonna celebrate the whole weekend as it's just gonna be Friday 13th weekend for me. Like I said, I was behind on my making my Friday the 13th hockey mask shaped donuts. And I've got them rising again in there now. I'm probably going to fry them up after this is over. Um, but a lot of people like that I was doing. Even my mother-in-law, I see. But as we said, the jocks were the golden boys. I like the rocker boys, LOL. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I necessarily like bad boys or anything. Um, but I guess I didn't like the rocker boys. I like the nerds. The sensitive, nerdy guys. Those were the guys that I went for when I was in high school. Because I had my fair share of getting my heart broken by trying to go after um, the nice looking kind of athletic types, and it never worked out for me. And then I figured out that you know the nerds they were the ones too that I was interested in. They were the ones I liked having conversations with. I couldn't have conversations with those other guys. There was just nothing for us to talk about. You know what I mean? um Bliss, what you said, girls wearing their boyfriends' varsity jackets was a huge deal. Yeah. Um, I always thought it odd. My mom never, she never went out with a jock. My dad was not a jock, but back when she was in high school, her and my dad graduated in 74. And that was also the same year they got married. My mom had what looked like, I mean, they were high school jackets, but they looked a lot like the varsity Letterman's jackets. Um, I see Steve's stomach and like his hands. Is he going to strangle me? What are you doing, Steve? Steve's belly's talking. Um, Bliss, what you say? My rule was if they had better hair, I stayed away. LOL. Steve always told me he was always, complaining about his hair. He couldn't get it to, you know, do what he wanted to do. Isn't that right, Steve?
Yeah, it went away.
Well, it went away eventually.
Where's the chocolate milk?
On the one of the bottom shelves, near the bottom on the right. Did you find it?
See it.
Okay. Steve can never find anything, by the way. The way I arrange things, he can't ever find them. Blissful, you say my dad was the head jock. My mom dated guys who drove imported cars. Yeah, my mom had her best friend in high school. Always, well, she did a fair share of smoking some dope too with these guys, but she liked guys with sports cars and listened to rock music and stuff like that. So, mom said that her best friend was always, trying to get hooked up with these different guys. I guess she was probably, I'm not saying you smoked any dope, Blissful, but I'm just saying I think her friend probably went more for the rocker type of guy. And she liked guys with cool cars too, muscle cars and stuff like that. And I guess my mom wanted a country boy, and that's what she got. I mean, my mom and dad both are as country as they come, and I love them. God bless them. They're good people. So now we're back to Jeff and Neil, who this conversation's funny. They talk about they flunked gym 3 times, and they they were talking about going over to the girls' slumber party, and one of the guys, of course, says, "But we weren't invited," and the other guy wants to go over there and scare him. He says, "Just a baby scare. What could it hurt?" And the other guy says, "Well, they could beat the shit out of it." He says, "That's right, we did flunk gym." And the other guy says, "3 times." Sammy's being loud. So now, Mr. Content, the neighbor, of course, he scared Trish. He was checking. I don't know. That's sort of creepy. I mean, maybe it wasn't in like 82. But now it seems kind of creepy that your neighbor would come over and like go into your house when you're not there. And then when you get there, he like comes from downstairs and scares the shit out of you and then says, "Oh, I was just checking the house out." It's like, did somebody leave him the keys or something? Did her parents like leave him an extra set of keys? Maybe I'm just too distrustful of people. But speaking of pot, one of her friends had a bag of marijuana and some beer. So did anybody ever make Kool-Aid that way where they didn't like exactly measure out the sugar? They would just dump some in there. But that's what you say. She liked the guys who wore tweed. My dad joined the Navy to protect the bars, as he often told me. So, to be honest, I'm not a person like I'm definitely not a prude. I'm not against pot per se. Um, and actually people have told me, people that, smoke a little bit of it or do the gummies or whatever. Um, they actually have told me if I'm gonna, try pot, um, that I probably should smoke it or have it as an edible, like pot brownies or something, because it gets into your system and starts working faster. Whereas the gummies, there's a delayed effect, and I was kind of close to freaking out the one and only time I tried a gummy, because I didn't know what to expect. Really, I've never smoked pot in my life. I've never had an edible with THC in it. I just never had. Um, and when I tried it, it was just kind of such a weird feeling. And I know that's all part of the thing, but I just wasn't sure how long it was going to last. So I think people will tell me that, I should smoke it or whatever, so that the effects would come on quickly and go away, um, rather than kind of linger for a little bit. Liz, what you say you tried pot twice. Both times I had a panic attack. See, that's what I was afraid was going to happen to me because I'm prone to panic attacks anyway. That's what I was afraid was going to happen to me with the gummy, because when the effects started, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Because, like I said, I never smoked pot or anything, so I had no clue what to expect, and I guess things, anything like that maybe um, messes with brain chemicals or something like that. Everybody's going to have a different reaction to it. And I knew it wasn't like an acid trip or anything, but it's like when I got up off the couch, and like it seemed like it took a half a second for my foot to hit the floor when I was walking. And it took me forever, it seemed like, to get to the refrigerator. I was thirsty. I wanted to get something to drink, and it was just so surreal. Um, and I got a little nervous. I got a little freaked out. I didn't like go crazy or nothing, but I just was like, "Oh, am I gonna get thrown into a panic attack? Is this what this is gonna do to me?" And so that's why I've not taken any gummies or did anything with the THC as far as that. And Steve got some new gummies in, Sky High gummies or whatever. They're more those Delta 8 ones. And he's just fine with them. I mean, sometimes he gets a little slap happy and laughs a lot. Um, but other than that, he'll just go to sleep. So here's some more of the female form here. Evidently, Michelle Michaels had no problems, showing her body, because her body is seen multiple times. But I did one of the three girls here that we don't see topless, and I don't think we ever see her topless at all, is the black girl, who's very attractive. Um, but I'm guessing that she was not interested. I mean, she's got her skimpy little negligee thing there on, but she never, as far as I know, gets topless. And here's another thing. I understand it's a movie, and you're supposed to, titillate the male audience a little bit. I get that. But in reality, why would girls dress skimpy like that in front of each other? Unless they were lesbians or closet lesbians or whatever. Um, and so now we have Valerie's sister Courtney, who's looking at the Playgirl. She's gotten a hold of Valerie's Playgirl, um, and she was taking out the centerfold, which evidently she must have done quite often because Valerie knows exactly what she's doing up there, that she's not doing her homework. And she tells her, okay, but don't tear out the centerfold this time. So she knows exactly what her sister's doing. Blissful, you say, I get a lot of anxiety and panic attacks, so I try to stay away from that. Meditation helps a little. Yeah, I try to do like breathing exercises and things like that. Um, I have a hard time like relaxing. And even though I'm really liking my new job, it's like with anything new, I'm at a heightened, a kind of a heightened, not a panic state, but you know, when you start a new job, a lot of times, um, I don't know really about anybody else, but this is how I am. I always have a fear that I'm going to do something wrong, that I'm going to get reprimanded by my supervisor or something like that. And, it happens every time I switch jobs. You know, I, I know a certain amount of criticism is good, and that you have to do things wrong sometimes to learn, and that everybody's going to make mistakes. But I think that that's really been like, it's been playing with my head a lot. It's been, causing, I'm not going to get gross here, but it's been causing me some problems with my stomach, and stuff like that. I've been having headaches and stuff like that. I know, and it's not like a sickness. It's just, it's nerves, I think, or what, the old timers would call nerves. They wouldn't say anxiety. You've got a nerve problem. That would be the thing. Yes, that's exactly right. Blissful change, does put people on high alert. It definitely, definitely does. And I'm sure I'll settle in at some point. It's just starting. I still feel like a newbie. I still feel like I'm getting my feet wet and all that. So you say you know exactly what I mean. Yeah. I mean, and that's, I like talking to everybody in these streams and in these chats and stuff, but like, I really feel, like a connection with you, Blissful. I feel a connection with 71 when she's in here, and even Texas to some extent, as well. Um, I kind of feel like all of us are like birds of a feather. And that, and it makes me feel better. Not that other people have anxiety and stuff like that, but that there's people out there that understand it. Because I don't always feel like, even those closest to me, like Steve, I don't think that he gets that. He just doesn't understand why I'm so emotional a lot of times. Like lately, I've been crying at the drop of a hat over things. And Steve's like, why are you crying? It's not that big of a deal. Why are you crying? Um, and I just, for the life of me, I can't get him to understand that. And the only people that truly will understand are people that have either seen it firsthand quite a bit, or they have something similar themselves. Um, I have not tried peppermint oil capsules. I have, when I felt a little sick at my stomach before, as long as it's not, like a stomach flu or something like that, if it's just an upset stomach, I have used a peppermint, like just a piece of peppermint candy, or spearmint tea. Like I'll drink herbal tea sometimes. Sometimes that helps as well. But I'll look into the peppermint oil capsules. You said people who don't have it don't understand. It's so hard to explain. Yes, yes, I totally get that. So now we're at the part where Diane's talking to her doofus jock boyfriend, and she calls him Boo Boo. Um, but the girls are listening on the extension. And I just now noticed Diane's got a big old zit on her forehead there. Well, Diane kind of deserves that because who like goes to their friend's house, gets on the phone, talks to the boyfriend, starts talking sex stuff. When you know there are other girls in the house, if there's another extension, then of course these girls are going to listen in on it. I mean, that just is a given. So now the lights went out, and we don't know why the lights went out. We're going to find out here shortly. But this is just one of those, this is a kind of typical horror movie trope here. The power went out. The phones didn't go out, but the power went out. Why did the power go out? We don't know. But at least they're not going to separate. At least they're all going as a group, pretty much, with the exception of Diane. They're going to go out to the garage to check the fuses. So there's Diane. She scared the shit out of the other girls. And they're going in the garage. Were people's fuses like, I'll ask you this, Blissful. Were people's fuses like a lot of times were they out in their garages instead of in their house somewhere? Was like the main fuse box in the garage? That just always seemed kind of odd to me. I just always been used to like breaker boxes and fuse boxes being in the house actually. So, oh man, dang, it's Jeff and Neil. They stowed the fuses. Those darn boys. Oh, I will talk to Texas about that. If you feel comfortable with me having it, Blissful, that would be nice. Yeah, I may I may hit you up to talk sometime. You say ours was always in the house. This house, it's in the basement. Yeah, basements seem like typical places, if a house has a basement. I just always thought it was odd that they had to go out to the garage in this movie. But I think this is supposed to take place in California, so maybe the houses were different, designed different there. I mean, I was thinking that I could, but again, I don't know if this would get me a copyright strike or not, even though a lot of these movies that we're watching for these watch-alongs are on YouTube. I'm just wondering um if I shared my screen, if that would cause some kind of algorithm to go off. I don't know. I'll ask around about that. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking out loud to myself about ways that we could, share the movie or something. You say it would be absolutely no problem. Okay, cool. I'll try to remember to speak to him about that. But that's what you say in the slumber parties I went to. We changed in the bathroom. LOL. Yeah, me as well. I didn't go to a whole lot of slumber parties, and the slumber parties that I went to when I was as old as these girls, I didn't go to slumber parties anymore. I'm not like putting anybody down if they did, um, but I didn't do that. I went to sleepovers at my friends' houses when I was, you know, 12, 13, stuff like that, maybe just teensy bit younger. The girl that plays Valerie, her name was Robin Steele or Robin Rochelle. Um, I think one of those might have been her married name. Um, but I think what happened to her was very, very sad. And I'm not trying to bring down this watch along or anything, but um, in this movie, they basically behind the scenes, they said there was no indication that maybe she had a drinking problem or that she was depressed or anything like that. But then I've heard, you know, around the time that she was in Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama, um, which she doesn't look ugly or anything, but she looks like she's went through hell by the time that movie came out in the late 80s. And this movie was the early 80s, and she almost looks like a totally different girl. So I don't know if she was going through something at that point in time, um, that that led to her suicide or not. Now, again, this is Michelle Michaels' breast and not the girl who plays Diane here. Gina Marie, I think might be her name. So I'm guessing she had a no nudity clause. And as most people know, Roger Corman was like a producer of these films. And good old Roger, bless his heart, he wanted, he wanted certain things in these movies because he knew what would work, what would bring in the money. And female nudity was one of those things. And so Roger pretty much had a formula for these movies that every few minutes you had to have some nudity. Every few minutes you had, if it was a horror film, you had to have a kill. Um, and it definitely, I mean, he had the right formula. That was the typical slasher movie, horror movie formula that worked for a lot of years and that brought in the money. That's what you say. In high school, I would stay over at my best friend's house after a concert, but we didn't have slumber parties. Yeah, I always thought of slumber parties as something that when I was younger. Um, and like I said, I only went probably to less than a handful of those. Okay, so this guy just literally lost his head there. Diane's doofus jock boyfriend there. I always find that scene kind of funny. And who is that? Is that Russ Thorn? Of course it's Russ Thorn, isn't it? And it has been said that the drill, especially in that scene where it's you see it between his legs, is a very phallic symbol, and he's using it to penetrate these girls. Bless what he said. It was like he was using his head anyway. Wasn't. Oops. Yeah. Okay. You need some coffee. And while you're doing that, I'm going to step away and check on my donuts that are probably still rising at this point in time. So I'm back. Blissful's probably still getting her coffee. These are going to be, by the way, guys, for anybody that cares, these are going to be some well risen hockey mask donuts. But I like my donuts to be like that generally anyway. So, you don't want skimpy donuts. So I think I missed the scene where the pizza guy had gotten his eyes drilled, and so now Coach Jana was on the phone with the girls, and they all started screaming and stuff. And so she called Valerie to try to figure out what might be going on at their house. I just wonder what happened to this girl that played Courtney, because for those of you that have seen Slumber Party Massacre 2, you will know that not the same girl does not play Courtney in the sequel. The character of Courtney is played by Crystal Bernard, who a lot of you will remember from the sitcom Wings, which, by the way, I loved Wings. I actually had the whole series. He acts like he's scared of that. I think that's Jeff. He acts like he's scared of that knife. So the boys are going to be they're going to attempt to be the protectors here. But they don't turn out, as we're going to see here shortly, to be very efficient at their job. And of course, it's kind of the girls that are going to end up having to take the reins. You said back. I love Wings. I do too. I could go back anytime and watch that show. I just absolutely love it. And believe it or not, Wings was one of those shows that I didn't watch when it was first out. I watched it in syndication. I think I used to watch it on USA um, when I was still living with my parents, and I just got just not obsessed, but I'm like you. I love that show, and I still can go back and watch it. Steve doesn't understand why I buy all the seasons of some of these shows because he says I've just kind of gotten out of the mood to watch sitcoms. He hasn't wanted to watch sitcoms for years. And I still love to go back to sitcoms, especially sitcoms from the 80s and early 90s. I think, wasn't Wings pretty much like a 90s sitcom? I was thinking it was. So I'm guessing that Valerie can hear Neil banging on the door, but I think she thinks they're just trying to trick her. And she's just obviously not going to get up and go to the door. Um, and as we're going to see here, by the time she does decide to get up, it's going to be too late for Neil, unfortunately, here. I don't know what that was. It was like he raised the knife and just paused it with it in midair, and then I guess so. Restorn's going to take him out here shortly. And I'm forgetting what the movie is that she's watching. I think I used to know, and now I've forgotten. I love Brian too. I absolutely, Joe is the straight man pretty much, but even in that first episode when Brian shows up, it's just like ta-da, here's he's more than comic relief though. I don't think that show would have been as successful if that character wasn't there. I think that character needed to be there. And Steven Weber did an awesome job in that role too. So Russ Thorne is putting all the dead bodies in the trunk, it seems, and he's going to count them here, and he's going to discover that one of them is missing. So who's missing? Oh, it's Jeff. So Jeff is not quite dead yet. So the black girl is wanting to eat this pizza, even though it's been sitting here with the corpse of the pizza guy for a while now. So she says, he's so cold. And the other girl's like, it's the pizza. I just love this. This is genius here. Sorry, guys. I didn't think I'd start yawning this early. It's just a little after 9 here. Uh-oh. Jeff is toast. I think Jeff's done for now. So Coach Jana's on her way over to the girls' house, or to Trisha's house, because she's worried about the girls, naturally. And Valerie is looking for Courtney once again. Courtney does a disappearing act several times during this movie. And where is Courtney headed off to? Oh, she's headed over across the street to the neighbors. Oh, goodness, guys. I'm so sorry I keep yawning. Oh, there's Russ Thorne kind of hiding in the bushes there. Oh, Jackie did a stupid thing there. She gonna go open the door. Uh-oh. Yeah, she's toast. And I actually met the guy that played Russ Thorne. I met him at a convention a few years back, and he was such a nice, sweet guy. He talked to me for a long time. I am going to step away and run to the restroom really quickly. But I know I'll be back before this movie's over. I promise. I do apologize, Blissful, and anybody else that's watching this. The dogs decided that they wanted to go out right about the time I was coming back through here. We have about 12 more minutes left in this movie. So not a lot, Again, I picked this one because I think it's a fun movie, but I also picked it too because it was a little bit shorter than some of the movies, and doing double duty with these watch-alongs. Oh, and Kimberly just bit the bullet there. And I'm sorry if you guys hear Sammy barking in the background. He's barking at something outside. Sometimes, if I decide I'm going to do two of them, and I didn't get to do this one as early as I normally would have on Saturday because Steve did a stream as well with a watch along, so he got done a little bit later. But I do love I love the way this actor who plays Russ Thorne, the way his movements and stuff. And he actually said that he mimicked his movements after a peacock. And I can definitely see that. But I think it's really effective and creepy. And again, Valerie's once again looking for Courtney, who Courtney looks like she's dead over there, but we're gonna soon find out she's not. Blissful, you say cute puppy parade. I had to take mine out. LOL. You say I got a water fountain for the dog. He barked at it for a while. LOL. Yeah, probably if I got that, mine would bark too. I've actually got one of those self-watering ones where you fill up the tank or the plastic bottle part of it, and you turn it upside down and it seeps in there into the part where they can drink out of it. And then, as they drink, more of it will come out of the other part of it, the reservoir or whatever. It's almost like a water cooler at the office or something. But Sammy, my younger basset hound, was actually scared of it for a while because it would kind of make a noise when the water came out. It would go boom, boom, and he was scared of that noise. But now he's pretty well okay with it. And the actress who played Kimberly here, who's dead in the refrigerator, she was actually holding on to where you would have the light bulb in the refrigerator until it was time for her to fall out all the way like this. I get you say now he loves it. He has a diabetes, so he drinks a lot of water. Yeah, poor feller. My dog, my older basset hound Brandon, he drinks a lot of water too. I've kind of wondered if he might not be diabetic, but they've tested his blood and they haven't said anything that he seems to be diabetic or anything, which is a good thing because poor feller, as old as he is now, he has so many issues going on. I don't want him to have another one on top of that or on top of the others. So now, what's he doing with the pizza guy? Just dragging him away. Well, we're gonna see here in a minute why he's doing that. Yeah, pizza dude, I'm just gonna stick you in here, get you out of the way. Throw you down the. See, it appears that they have a basement, so I don't know. I still don't understand why weren't the fuses in the basement? Seems like it would be more convenient to have them in the basement than to have to go out to the garage. So he's covering himself up, hoping that he'll look like the dead guy so he can kill some more people. So they will think that, oh, that's the dead pizza dude, but no, it's Russ Thorn. So Coach Jana is going to come in, and she's looking for Trish and Kim and Jackie. And then she notices, oh, there's somebody under the blanket. What is that? Who is that? Yeah, Ela Bassadowns their ears. Yeah, they have the best ears of any just about any dog. Hey, John, you say, what's up, Dana? I'm actually on my way to see Nightmare on Elm Street 4 with a buddy. They're showing it locally, and Lisa Wilcox is going to be there. It's kind of random. Awesome. You'll have to let me know how that is. John, you say Slumber Party Massacre is creepy. The main killer, Russ or Rustin, very odd guy. Yeah, Russ Thorn. Yeah, I was saying earlier that I don't know if you were listening in at that point in time, but I met the guy that played Russ Thorn at a convention. I think it was a Cinema Wasteland convention that Steve and I went to several years back, and he was really, really nice. And he talked about how he mimicked his actions in the movie, the way he turns his head and stuff, to be like a peacock. And he obviously took some notebook pages from Charles Manson too, with coming up with, a little bit of that probably was the writer, but the way he pulls it off is very Manson-esque in some parts. That's what you say now. I want to look at new refrigerators. John, you say, I think what does it for me is the simple music. It's so odd but eerie. Yeah, I agree. So, oh, Coach Jana is toast. Ah, there we go. Jason Voorhees must have left his machete. This is very sexual and creepy. The part where he says I love you is very reminiscent of the things that the killer said to their victims that were part of the Charles Manson cult. John, you said, wasn't this movie also directed by a feminist? It's kind of funny considering the subject matter. I know it was a woman director. She may have been a feminist. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I always thought it was, women have directed several of these. Um, so I always thought that was funny. Oh, no problem, Texas. You say, sorry, I forgot about this. No, that is perfectly cool. John, you say, I say a feminist, but I mean an outspoken female director. Yeah, she was probably that too. Yeah, because I listened to her on the commentary. So this kind of gets pretty, gruesome here at the end. So Valerie has cut off uh, Russ Thorne's hand. She slashed him in the stomach, and he falls in the pool. But as many slasher movies as all of us have seen, we know that more than likely this is not the end. And Valerie, bless your heart, dear girl, you should not have thrown the machete down, as we're going to see here shortly. So it appears that we're not going to just have one final girl, but we're going to have three final girls if you count Trish, Valerie, and Courtney. Oh, yeah. What'd I tell you? And then to top it all off, he's hitting her in the face with this stump. Oh, yeah. They really kind of laid on the gore here at the end, which is fine. So there is officially the end of Slumber Party Massacre. Blissful, you say I'll kick Texas in the ankle for forgetting. uh, Texas, you say I've seen this movie probably just as much as you, Dana. Yeah, and actually we talked about both having the steel book the other night. I know. Yeah, so you probably have. John, you said, why do you think the sequels were so wacky and not straightforward? Also, the Slumber House and Sorority House movies confuse me with sequels. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think they just thought if they just kept making them and kept making them as wacky as they could, um, perhaps nobody would notice, you know. But yeah, I get that the slumber party and sorority house movies are confusing with the sequels. I agree with that. And they now Slumber Party Massacre 2 it is a little bit more straightforward, but I get that the later ones it is very confusing. So you're saying the Slumber Party Massacres and the Sorority House Massacres are two separate things? Yes, they are definitely supposed to be two separate things. Um, from my way of thinking, anyway. Um, Texas, you say Slumber Party Massacre 2 kind of sucks. Um, I never really thought it sucked. I didn't really appreciate it the first time I watched it. It had to grow on me a little bit, and now I enjoy that wackiness of the movie, and so I I would imagine some people aren't too thrilled with the idea that the driller killers ends up possessing a dead rock star. That may be sort of confusing to people, or may not um, be a logical choice for them to do. Or anything like that. But once this one grew on me, I liked it pretty well. Blissful, you say these girls need to learn to decapitate. Exactly. Exactly. But you think it's too goofy? Yeah, and I could see it being too goofy for some people. John, you said the game Babysitter Bloodbath borrows from this movie heavily, even has this music in it. Really? Um, I don't think I'm familiar with that game. John, you say part two has the rockabilly guy, right? Wasn't he a famous guy's kid? Ah, it seems like he was, John, and I can't remember. I was thinking too that he had, he had put out a record or something too, himself. Um, Jeez, yeah, I can't remember all the details though. Well, guys, this has been fun, and I'm glad that John, that you were in here, and Texas Blissful, of course, was in here most of the time with me. Thank anybody else that came through here that didn't necessarily get in the chat. Um, Blissful, you say with some rock stars, I know possession wouldn't be noticed, right? Um, but like I said, it's been fun, but I am going to have to go and fry up my donuts and let them cool and put some jelly in them, get some icing put on those suckers, and I will try to take another picture of them when they're completed and put on Facebook in case anybody wants to check that out. But thank you guys once again for being in here with me. It's been fun. Stay on the lookout for There's Something About Tarantino, which will be debuting on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thursday will be another My Dinner with the Palma at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I will have another watch along for Saturday. So you guys be on the lookout for all of that stuff that's upcoming, and who knows, maybe I'll throw a few surprises your way. Blissful, you say great live, Dana. Thank you. Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for hanging out with me during the majority of this movie, so I didn't have to be by myself. But with all that being said, I am going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everyone on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now.